Well, hello. Welcome to our last news of the year 2025. Thanks for joining us. Actually, for a second, I'll do this. Take a look at this. Change my idea, eh? Seems like I've been redecorating. Do you like it? It's just landed. We will not disappoint tonight, I hope. I have updates from my highly placed media source. I've been tickling his fancy again to extract more info for your enjoyment. Not his. I'm not Professor Jackage either, by the way, collecting bat's milk. Oh, no, 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 no. Our topic tonight is the need for fresh blood, the need for creative challenges like Verity and Barry and Innes Lloyd. And we will look at what Innes Lloyd was quoted as saying in the most recent documentary, which brings new light on his and the RTD era of Nuwho. A new philosophy, actually, that actually the BBC may or should apply. I'm stocked with a salivating panel of John from Sci-Fi Chronicles 79 and Divine and Dragon Christian. So happy Christmas, everybody. And let's get them on now, shall I? Let's get them on. So here's John, Sci-Fi Chronicles.
Hey, good to see you. Hi, everybody. Hope you've all had a good Christmas and you're not overstuffed with chocolate and junk food like me.
I'm overstuffed with a new TARDIS.
Yeah, I know.
Bigger on the inside. No, sorry. Yeah, we're not going there.
Yeah. He's actually doing the show from the East Wing today, not the West Wing.
Yeah. And we've got him on. He's been busy. He's obviously been teaching, but we've grabbed him. Good to see you, Christian. Happy Christmas to you.
Great to be here. I'm glad that you two are stuffed with all the best. We know that there are some people at, Bad Wolf that are stuffed with something less than we want to brag about.
So yeah, we've got us, everybody who watches us. We've got a good show today, and of course, I'm giving you the info from our source. So here we go. Obviously, he has had plenty to say, and as you know, I always, hopefully, always deliver. So I'm going to start with my deliveries straight away. So here we go. He said, all the people who've been involved with Doctor Who in the last two iterations need to not ever be given the keys to that show again. They need to be gone. They cannot be allowed near the show again. They've had their time. It's done. It's over. Now, if anybody in the thread is of viewing us is seeing this as angry or anything, it's not. Obviously, I've transcribed what the source said. He was just chatting. He also rates a lot of what RTD did in 2005. So he's just saying, I think it's time for fresh blood, but it's not done in an aggressive way, because I can do it like that, They need to be gone, but no, it's. I just think we need to get to a new place. Now, he gives a lot of detail tonight, but John, just as an opening gambit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% in agreement with this, with what the source is saying. I think, I've talked to you, and I've been banging on about this for a long time, about the fact that it needs at least 10 years away, a minimum of 5, because you've got to unpick all the people involved, RTD and co, from not just the production itself, but from Doctor Who magazine, from Big Finish, from all of the other franchise elements that they've infested. And until you do that, you haven't got a chance. So I'm 100% in agreement with the source on this one.
And just as I come to Christian, good to see Stephen Braddock, Graham, everybody. But Stephen Braddock is headlining our Innes Lloyd chat that we're going to have. We're going to have clips from that documentary as well for those who didn't see it. So I always like to include people. Innes Lloyd said he just made Doctor Who the best it could be. Unlike RTD, he actually cared about the show. Actually, Stephen, I can't... When I don't know people's motivation, I don't know what RTD thinks. Innes Lloyd said it in his own words that he really wanted it to be the best it could be. I'm sure in a version of RTD's head, Christian, he does actually want to make good Doctor Who. It's just that he's not listening to alternative viewpoints.
I think you made a very astute observation. I think it's safe to assume, based on how RTD came into this 20 years ago, that he does care, or did care at that time. The problem today is he cares about his agenda more than he does the show. And therein lies the rub. That's the problem. If the show doesn't come first, if he's going to put something else that's antithetical to the show first and into the show, that becomes very problematic. It's one of the reasons, as John was saying, we've got to have a break of 5-10 years in order to clean house of RTD and all of his acolytes who have populated the business and are a part of the package. Because if he's gone and his hand-picked successor inherits the role, you're going to get more of the same.
So we're going to tonight, everybody. We're going to look at the whole lot of Doctor Who from beginning to end in different parts. It's not a review of the year. It's an assessment of where we are with Doctor Who now.
We'll be finishing about 4 a.m. Everybody, just
in 2027. But I just thought we're going to look at it through the prism of Innes Lloyd, because I think it shows a way it can be done. It's not a negative broadcast tonight at all. I think there's ways we can actually see a way through. Terrified Monk, Doctor Who could be so much more. And that's exactly why I'm still here, Terrified Monk, because it's got so much potential still untapped. Timescales over there in California, there needs to be a creative team. And later on, Timescales, we will be quoting Innes Lloyd, who does talk about that kind of creative flow that needs to go on. Garbage, who was obviously good. Hopefully, we had a good chat with him the other day. He's got his Christmas hat on and my Christmas Doctor Who top on, which I forgot to show the panel the other day. But he's in good, fine fettle, and it was good to see him. You know, Team Sensphere that kind of had a chat with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was Christmas after all, and good old Squinty Mint is in. He'll tell me tonight when he disagrees with me, and that's all to the good. I think the praise RTD gets has left him without critical faculties. He thinks everything is brilliant. It is ever thus, Squinty Mint, isn't it? It happens to politicians, it happens to prime ministers, it happens to presidents. Sometimes they start to... Well, they're surrounded by yes people. That is the problem, and that's in every industry. It is a danger. But... we will move on to what more the source has been saying, and I've got plenty more from him. But of course, the laugh always is, who the hell is this?
YouTube is melting with everyone pondering, thinking, sweating over who is the source.
Be allowed to make contact with the source.
Prepare for access to the source.
Therefore, claim rapport with the source, so that you may make your judgment.
I mean, as I said, I'm like Professor Jackage. I just milk him for more information.
There you go.
Yes, I had intimate access with... No, sorry, I'm not going on there. There you go.
Yeah, well, I knew exactly where you were going with that one, and it's probably good that you stopped before the censors made you stop, mate.
Yeah. I was a glimmer away. But, oh, well, there you go. That's just to say Happy Christmas to everybody. Now, Stefan, who obviously is one of our panelists too, especially in particular missing episodes, can we address one thing? Watching Classic Who, most episodes involved the Doctor, but the first part was convincing people who he was. Now he just shows psychic paper and he gets out of jail. I'm assuming from that, Stefan, you, like me, don't approve of that, because I am a lover of those classic episode ones, and for some of the reasons Stefan's saying there, which is, I love it when the Doctor has to always prove himself. Number one, he doesn't know where he is sometimes, and two, why the hell should I be talking to you, Doctor? I love that.
Well, as I just responded back to Stefan there, I've said about the sonic screwdriver, now it's become such a joke, and it'll be, set it to setting 48 and it resonates wood, just to get you out of it. And it's just become a complete nonsense, and he's made it the magic wand of Harry Potter, basically. And again, you're right, you want the Doctor to think his way out of a corner. That's what you want from the Doctor. And I've got to ask the question, when was the last time we saw the Doctor do that? I would say probably Capaldi's run.
Capaldi's run. The reality is, and you're spot on, anytime you craft a crutch, the host becomes weaker.
Yeah.
the psychic paper or the sonic screwdriver, they're wonderful devices if you're very clear about what the limitations are going in. All the writers who want to utilize them are aware of what the limitations are, and you can't craft a new magical capacity that they generate because, again, it becomes a crutch. It prevents the Doctor from being who he can be.
Yeah,
And
and
they need to go.
I just think we're missing part of the DNA by doing these shortcuts. You know, I never had a problem with a doctor facing a door and he was trying to make his sonic get him out of it. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But it forced a scene when he normally talked to his companion or he normally talked out loud about what the problem was or what he was worried or concerned the problem could be. I mean, it's all about the imagination of the head. Sam DeMay here, who was the insider. Well, I can't reveal his identity, but what I can say is he's a highly placed media producer. He makes pictures, he makes programs. He's done it on both sides of the Atlantic. So you know he knows his onions, so to speak, and he's a good friend as well to boot. As Squinty Mint says here, since we've mentioned the psychic paper, it takes away scenes where you get to understand the other characters and their degrees of trust. It's as if the scriptwriters have forgotten one fundamental thing about drama. We just want to engage with the people as well, you know. Because it's normally low budget Doctor Who, we know we can't go on, you know, up mountains and all the rest of it. Yes, I know we've said we've done it, but we've all seen the sets. But basically, it's them little moments. So, like when the Doctor and Ian are talking to the Thals at a campfire, we need those moments. And I think sometimes the scriptwriters now have forgotten that. And when we talk about what Innes Lloyd said, Innes Lloyd didn't forget that sort of thing. But yeah, I think a lot of us are in agreement, Christian, about this psychic paper, shortcuts, and we're missing out on the engagement bit.
Well, you know, they've always had this thing about, oh, it's 45 minutes. You've got to race along in 45 minutes and get to the end, you know. But, you know, as I was saying to you before the chat, for the first time ever, I'm watching 12 Monkeys at the moment. Now, they're 45-minute to an hour formats. They don't race along. They do what you said, Brendan. They basically, if you watch each episode, they build it slowly. Each episode, it leads, there's an arc that's building over the season. It's done very, very well. So it can be done. And again, I just think it's laziness now. It's the easy way out of just making an excuse of, well, we've got to wrap this up quick, throw a load of CGI effects into it, and then we'll just wrap it up in 10 minutes to go and defeat the baddie. You know,
well, maybe, John, that is a part of it. The CGI effects, special effects have become a different kind of crutch. And the assumption is, oh, if we just pour these effects in, that will make up for the lack of character development. That will make up for the lack of clear motivation from the characters.
Yeah.
That will make up for an interesting relationship or dynamic that you should see between the characters. All of that gets tossed.
100%. And to come back on that as well, mate, I would say that when you look at the classic series of Doctor Who, they didn't have the budgets to do those effects. So they would fix that with the writing, with the script. They would write an explanation of where they needed to get to. Like what Brendan was talking about, there are things that they put in because they couldn't afford to do it with the effects that they had at the time. Now it's quite easy. It's a lot cheaper to do that. So it's like a shortcut effectively.
And it's missing those subplots that we used to have as well. I just feel as though an art is being lost to a degree. Stephen Braddock, remember Hartnell working out how to use the magnets to get out of his cell in the Dalek invasion of Earths? Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And as we've got here, Thoughty, is it? Dialogue is just as important as action. And I totally concur. We all need a page of dialogue. We all need those little bits when characterization is through voice, is through intonation, is through questioning, is through answer, is through fears. And yes, Cybermat strikes. We are all very live. Rumours that we have.
He don't know where he is right now, does he? He goes, is it live? What's real? What's not? I don't know. What's going on?
This is definitely December the 4th, 2022.
he's just come down a time corridor, isn't he? Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. No, we are officially on the brink of 2026. Yes. So good to see you, Dan. We are very alive. I don't know if I'll be alive at the end of the stream. Now, we've got a lot to say from what the source said, and we're just warming up. But it is interesting that there's a lot of ways we can look at this RTD era. Never mind the prism of what do you call it, Innes Lloyd. So here's one version we could look at it. Thanks to Garbage for this one.
Sack Russell T Davies, and I'll come back. The first series was a mess. It was to do with the people who were supposed to make it.
I say this is how we see Davros now, without the facial scarring, without the wheelchair or his bits. And I'm
Welcome to the Weakest Link.
very, very proud of the fact that we have. And it's dead. Spetty spits in half. 2 doctors.
You are the Weakest Link. Goodbye. Then you are unemployed.
Think of it, wherever society is, that's where you should. Awful lot of people have masturbated over my work and come up to me and tell me.
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter.
Play the Weakest Link. Another way of saying unemployed.
Another way of saying unemployed. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for Garbage Who AI for that. There's more to come tonight, folks. That was just a starter for 10. But since we're on RTD, just before we move to Innes Lloyd, here we go. We need now, says my source, fresh leaders, fresh thinking, innovators, just like John Nathan Turner and Philip Hinchcliffe. And RTD was when he first took hold of the reins. RTD was an innovator at that time. You think I know it's a long time ago, yeah, but you go back and you think about it, and he had a whole spiel, my source, talking about, Queer as Folk, Second Coming, some of his other shows, which were outliers, and he was challenging the establishment, and then he did ramp up Doctor Who. John Nathan Turner, his example there, for those of you going, what's all that about? Season 18. Season 18, he just explains later on how extraordinary that was. So basically, that just gives you a bit of context. I think everybody in the room will say Philip Hinchcliffe tick. So, he feels as a media insider that it's feeling stale. And it's interesting. We're going to look at what Innes Lloyd said about staleness a bit later. But, John, I know it's an easy hit for us, but the truth is, everybody has a time, don't they? They have to move on. I can become stale as a teacher. You can be stale in your profession. There's times you just have to move on, or get a new house, or change locale. You just have to freshen up.
Well, they always say never go back, don't they? That's a saying, because I'm on record. A 2005 RTD era, I really enjoyed it up until End of Time, and I enjoyed the Moffat run up to the end of Capaldi. So RTD was very good at that time, but he's come back, and he came back for all the wrong reasons. I think he came back, one, to do his, like you were saying, DD, it was about his agenda was first, the story was secondary, and then on top of that, I always quote Rocky 3, where Apollo says to Rocky, when we thought you were hungry, you had the eye of the tiger, but now you just don't look hungry. And I don't think he's been hungry. I don't think he has been like he was in 2005. And it's shown, unfortunately.
Do you know what? Using your analogy, John, I would say, and this is me being fair to today, not 2005. Yes, I don't think Russell T Davies is hungry. I think he's bloated. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
he's just sitting on it. He's bloating on it.
It's a cash cow.
Yeah, it's a good pension. It's good copyright rights and all the rest
Yeah.
of it, the ood and everything else. It's just everything has its time, and I find it so ironic, Christian, that when we watch the Christmas Invasion, he has a character saying, "Doesn't she look tired?" And you're thinking, we're all saying the same now about you, RTD, and it's a shame it happens to us all.
Well, there were no restraints on him this time around. We talk about a good creator wanting to be hungry and having something to prove, but still having to operate and negotiate within constraints. And 20 years ago, he was operating within constraints, and that forced him to up his game. There were no restraints this time around other than self-indulgence. He could push his agenda. Now, let's say the contract was written like this. For each million views he doesn't accomplish, i.e. from the peak, we want you to have 12 million views. For each million views you don't get, you're going to lose 10% of your anticipated salary or return. And all of a sudden he realized, you mean I can't take the chances? I really feel compelled. I've got to get this message across. Everyone's going to love this message. They've got to hear what I've got to say. I can't do that? No. If you want to earn a salary, do you want to earn something? That might have changed the dynamics.
I think I was going to say, sorry to jump there, Brent. I was going to say with that as well, one thing that I would say that's different now to 2005 is, as viewers, we got lucky in 2005 because the climate wasn't right for him to come out and to push this type of agenda-driven series. It just would have been rejected more than it has been now, and the BBC at the time would have pushed back hard on that. And I think now, like you say, the shackles are off, that he was free to do what he wants because they were like, oh, he's made such a success of it previously. We'll just let him do what he needs to do. And again, the beggars for their own demise, aren't they, really?
Yeah, they've got to remember they're dealing with other people's money, and you know, you've got to count every penny. You're supposed to. Boomer Doug, good to see you. Of course, he's reminding me that I recorded. Of course, I know I edited it very heavily. Where's the detox show we made before Christmas? Is it for next Christmas? He's a sarky devil, isn't he? Boomer Doug and all viewers, Brendan and Jamie go to Jamie's mum and dad's tomorrow for New Year. I'm there for a few days. Surprise, surprise, Doug and viewers. That's when the detox will land with the full detox panel talking about Doctor Who. And it's a good one with piles of clips. So Boomer Doug, there's your answer. Everything has its place. I need that Colgate. Ding! And yes, Stefan, I will have him booked on again. We've booked the Faceless ones. We just haven't given it a date yet, and we'll try and do it live. Yes. Everybody wants more. Everybody wants a pound of flesh, as they say. Graham, watch your Bumble No Snowman show with Brendan this afternoon, mate. Absolutely super stuff. Really enjoyed it, and you might see a bit more tonight because, of course, we're talking about Innes Lloyd. The other thing, though, lads, is there were a lot of statements made there, and we can take it any which way because it's Christmas, and we don't just want to talk about RTD, whether he's done good or bad in the past. I mean, the Time Wars, an example, is something that maybe was a shortcut that was needed just to get on. But John Nathan Turner did do wonders in those early years. I think Andrew Cartmel boosted him in the later years, and we got lost in the middle. And Philip Hinchcliffe, of course, as a 29, 30-year-old, he had a lot to prove and he went for it. Just like Verity Lambert had a lot to prove and she went for it. This is what I mean. We need, as we said about the hunger, you said, John, the hunger. We need somebody who has something they have to prove, not somebody who's already done it.
The trouble you've got as well, mate, and I see what you two think of this, but my view on it is we're in a unique time whereby not all quality writers that are out there or potential new quality writers are getting the opportunities because they don't think politically, ideologically the same as the showrunners or the people in those teams. Before, when you're talking about the Philip Hinchcliffe era and that, they didn't give us stuff, about, your political views or what you believed. I mean, we're talking about just listen to the Michael Herbert and his research on Malcolm Hulke and in that production team. They didn't care back then, but now that's a massive issue. Is if you don't think like us, you're not getting the opportunity. And I think the trouble you've got now is the BBC are captured. The BBC are only going to employ people that think like them. And then you're in a feedback loop constantly and never getting out of the problem.
You've got that right. If anyone has had a chance to read its recent treatise that's come out, The Lost Generation, which kind of addresses this, if you are not a part of the proper demographic group, because that's a big issue in the current cultural zeitgeist, both in Hollywood and at the BBC, then you're not going to be given a chance to take advantage of these kinds of opportunities. Yeah. And the problem is, again, it comes back to the agenda coming first. Whoever sets it, there are clear gatekeepers in charge that will prevent qualitative contributors of the next generation from stepping up and proving what they can do.
Totally. My source tells me that. He tells me whether he's on the approved list for the BBC to be allowed to make a pitch. I mean, it's disgraceful. It's like they pull the ladder up behind them, but because I tickle his little fancy, I get to hear all this. I am the source whisperer after all. Of course. Now, Garbage is doing a great job in the thread, reminding people that super chats are available. If that doesn't work on you, I mean, I've got to tell you, I also pull the ladder from up. Once I'm starting to hit that first run of a nice bit of success, those Who pets I treat abominably. Here's the evidence.
Somebody will save us someday. Please call.
Oh God, aren't they pathetic actors? I tell you
what. I thought that was RTD and his new boyfriend for a second there, mate.
Oh God. And right on time, David Frame, I hope you're going to get out of hospital soon, and you've been very generous these last few days, and I thank you for it. And please email me, and I want to have a chat with you.
Get well soon, mate.
Thank you very much. Yeah, he's been in a rough way, so it's it's Christmas as well. I've been in hospital at Christmas. It's not a good place to be.
No.
So hopefully you're on the mend, David, and thank you very much. Now, you were so fast there that even though we've just had them chattering away, we've got this coming.
BJ's walking, we're off to Benidorm with your good. I'll treat my wife to a blue rinse.
So thank you for that. I will depart for a second to fix my wonky voice, these two will take over. So I will love you and leave you, lads. And are you happy with that slide there for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah. We'll see you in a second.
Okay, see you in a sec.
See you then.
So, well, I was going to ask you, John. We talk about there needing to be fresh turnover. Maybe you'd call it creative churn every few years. What would you suppose is the ideal number of years for a creative team to be present before they depart and a fresh team comes in?
For me, I would say 3 to 5 years to assess on whether they're still hungry and up for it. But I would, if it was me, I would also want someone at the BBC or a studio basically overlooking it and keeping an eye on a short list of potential candidates to take over just in case, you know, things need to change, and keep an eye on people up and coming. I think that's my view on it. What about you?
I tend to look at it the same way. It helps if you've got someone that's on top of a creative team. You have somewhere between 4 and 6 quality writers underneath, not the showrunner who does everything, which is the pattern we've seen the last 20 years. The writing team is strong. If the showrunner needs to step away, ideally someone on the team who's already proven themselves. They're already a part of it and they're familiar with the timeline. They can step up, but they can still move things in a slightly different direction, a slightly modified tone. It's not science fiction, but one of the examples I look at was MASH, which ran for 11 years in America. And the initial producer was a fellow by the name of Larry Gelbart. He stepped away after about 5 years, and it was one of the people on the team named Burt Metcalf who took over and finished the run. And that seemed to work just fine. So you've got very distinct eras, but the creative control was appropriate for the eras of the show at that time.
Well, good to see you all back. As usual, when I leave, the ratings go up. So I know my place. John's just hold on. John's just disappeared there. Is he back?
Maybe he's checking his mic.
Yeah, I don't
Am I here?
Yeah, I'll keep going because I don't want it to get too bumpy on this one. So, good to see you. Thank you very much. You will think like us. You will become us. Tomb of the Who pets. Oh, thank you very much, Farsight, and a Merry Christmas to you. Oh gosh, let's see if I can play catch up after just disappearing for a moment. Right, okay, so well, there you go. There's good old Philip Hinchcliffe. Oh, that era, you know, Pyramids of Mars, Seeds of Doom, Brain of Morbius.
Magical.
Oh, Deadly Assassin. And of course, the John Nathan Turner era was great for my childhood too. Not necessarily the McCoy era, that was later on for me. But those early years, season 18, I took a while to warm up to. Season 19, I'm in my happy place. Yeah, these are good times. And they were pushing the boundaries. They were trying things before they started repeating things. I don't refer to Philip Hinchcliffe on that. I'm reading Jonathan Nathan Turner. Okay, my source. RTD was fresh off those shows that he did. He was an innovator. He was a challenger brand. He was a challenger creative. He wasn't in the norm. And that's what we need again. And I think the sad thing is, two things can be right at once. Yeah, he was. He's not now. I think he thinks, Christian, he is, by breaking the fourth wall, by taking Doctor Who in a new direction, fantasy, by doing these new things. I think he thinks he's still being the challenger brand, but actually he's so establishment that it's impossible to find that because he's trying to manufacture being an outsider, Christian, I think.
I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. You have to remember when he came in last time, again, there were controls on him and he had something to prove. Now he's the establishment. Those controls are gone, but he's trying to fabricate the idea. And it's always artificial that he's on the outside. What did he change differently the first time around? The first time around, he actually created a significant impact on the human family. So that was something we didn't really have a chance to explore fully in the classic era. Okay, that's new. The format shifted to 45-minute long episodes. Okay, that wasn't something we'd really done previously. So there were some things that he was able to come in that might have a tonal impact on the story or might have a structural impact on the way the stories are delivered. But this time, all of the attempts to put himself on the outside, going meta, going fantasy, going melodrama, these are not things that are tonally consonant with the show itself. They become antithetical to quality. Previously, he could make changes that were qualitative and generated some quality output. This time, that's entirely gone. It's changed. It's almost like plugging in a token to say, look, I've got this token character or situation in here. See, I've done it. That means I can virtue signal. I can beat on my brass drum and prove my point, but it doesn't enhance the story. It actually detracts from it. It's a distraction.
Yeah,
And
it's just changing the wallpaper on your computer. That's what he's doing. I have to say now, it's superficial touching up. It's actually not doing anything fresh. It's just changing the slight, the hue on it or the filter on it. I actually think when we come to what Innes Lloyd was talking about, Innes Lloyd fundamentally wanted to change the blooming show. With a fresh pair of eyes, for right or wrong. He just had a fresh pair of eyes and he went for it. Since he didn't enjoy sci-fi, he wanted to make it happen. Whereas I think RTD, John, has got a double problem here now, today. He's a super fan. He is a fan. He's already in love with the Doctor Who brand, which I think now you need somebody who goes, I don't get this Doctor Who. And he's also very establishment. So I think he's got two things against him now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's now become, for the BBC, that safe pair of hands guy for them. Oh well, we'll give it to him because we know him. He'll guarantee us X number of viewers for the episode, which obviously has backfired on them. But that's where he is now compared to, as you were saying, to start with there, as the source is quoting, he was a challenger at the time. He was somebody that was writing stuff. He was driven. He had drive about him and the stuff that he wrote. Now, again, I've said to you, I've watched the Shooty season 1. I've watched the 60th ones. There are so many of those characters that you could swap out for anybody at any time, and nothing would change whatsoever because they're just one-dimensional characters. And he was always good in the 2005 era of fleshing out characters. I mean, when you want to talk about diversity, I still maintain Captain Jack. Captain Jack was a three-dimensional character.
Yeah.
Before you even talk about the diversity side of it, you cared about what happened to him in Parting of the Ways at the end of it and onwards. So that's the trouble. You're right. And I think the trouble you've got now, as I said a few minutes ago, trying to find someone like who RTD was back then in 2003 when he was signed up is very difficult, because I think if you're going to be a BBC where you're going to only have people that think like you're going to find it very difficult to bring that person in who is going to be that, that firebrand who is just basically, I'm not taking any prisoners, I'm doing it my way, and we're going to go forward.
And what's shocking is, look at Sidney Newman. Let's look at if you want an origin story, everybody, go back to Sidney Newman. He was an outsider to the BBC, really, let's be honest. And he was a firebrand, and he wanted to shake things up. And I just think it's got lazy, it's got fat, it's got lazy. Wolf instead asks you both a question. Should doctors go with a showrunner and head scriptwriter as separate roles, like most of the USA shows do? I can see you nodding your head, Christian.
Yeah, without a doubt. The problem is, if you are a producer in charge of a show, if you're busy spending all of your time every minute of the day crafting stories, you actually are going to lose your edge because you're going to burn out. Most people don't have 10, 15, 20 brilliant, equally shining examples of perfection in storytelling at their beck and call, at their fingertips. Chances are you could count all the brilliant stories that RTD had during his entire tenure on one hand. That means you need to be able to disperse that writing craft with original ideas among a very strong cadre, a strong team. Yeah. What brilliant writers could you have had if that was the way this was set up?
So we've got a few things here, and I'll shake up the thread because you're doing well here. Stefan, surely the BBC should have learned after JNT and how the show went very mad that RTD should have come back for the specials, and that should have been it. They wanted to throw content at the screen and hope for it. I don't think it was thought through at all, and I certainly don't think he was asked any questions.
I think also, mate, I think the difference was, with certainly, with 89 and Doctor Who coming back at 89, they didn't see it as this big potential brand like they do now. When they made a success of it in 2005 under RTD, it was a completely different beast and a brand. So now you're in that, sadly, that production mindset where it's similar to like Disney, where, look, we know our Star Wars stuff is rubbish, but we're going to continue to pump out series every single few years because we just want to keep the sausage factory going. And I think that's how they see it now.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just including Stefan again, everybody. I'm looking at what everybody's writing, don't worry. But Stefan asks this, or says this, and by the way, I'm putting this up now because it advertises what we're going to say about Innes Lloyd, because he actually had things to say that actually agree with RTD slightly, I think. Can we also address why do the companions always seem to come from Earth? Apart from Nardole, give us someone from another planet, make them human from somewhere else, and ask different stuff. It's interesting that Innes Lloyd and RTD have a similar philosophy on that. Doesn't mean they're right, but it's going to be interesting to debate when I get there. So keep them coming in, everybody. I will keep an eye on them. So, of course, there's fresher-faced RTD. He was the future once.
He was the future once.
Yeah. We all were one. We all were one.
Yeah.
Maybe this
time traveled.
Maybe this is now his swan song. I know.
Now the news is in, and we learn of a Christmas special penned by Russell T Davies. What can we expect? More of the same messaging against Trump and Farage and anyone on the right, using Doctor Who as his own personal political platform. Will we be overwhelmed with more DEI and inclusivity agendas? Crazy storylines and character arcs? What classic monster or villain will he ambush and vandalize next? Stick with the Sense Sphere to experience the next stormy waters for Doctor Who. Let's see what he serves up next. Dog's bollocks, or more like a dog's breakfast. Whatever happens, the Who pets welcome you on board.
I feel as I'm doing little adverts all the time here, but yeah.
You're going to have like a Barclay card advert come up in a minute, aren't you?
That's right.
Oh, God, yes. Don't forget, everybody, I do have merchandise. We do have the Seeds of Doom underpants.
The Sense Sphere jewellery is on the home shopping channel now. If you do 124 Sense Sphere on your phone, you'll be able to order it at the discount rate.
And of course, that was Garbage Who AI. Of course, it was. And there's more to come, plenty to come. But they do look like those three witches in the Shakespeare Code, don't they? They look like the Krillitanes there.
There you go.
Yes, but of course, my source has much more to say, and I want to really get into it. And of course, we then get right into, we're very close now to talking about our good old Innes Lloyd details. So let me just line them up, and I will get us there in a secondo. So here we go.
Decipher.
Oh, yes, the cipher tells me everything. So, what else has he been saying? He says, Brendan, if you look back at all the successful people in Doctor Who, they've all been challengers. Verity Lambert, a woman fighting against, surrounded by men, really. Rory Suzanne, an Asian director, he was a challenger. They were all challengers. And Terence Dix and Barry Letts, the things they were doing were considered at the time quite risky. I mean, the stuff with the Autons, they got in trouble for that with the police. You've got Philip Hinchcliffe, who we quoted earlier. He got into so much trouble with Mary Whitehouse. I think I do actually think that's what Doctor Who should be doing. It was never cutting edge regarding the budget. It was cutting edge with having to do shortcuts with the gadgetry and trying to get more out of their pound. And you need, as Innes Lloyd says in a minute, you need to give your directors latitude. You need to give your directors and writers space to experiment, pioneer, take risks. And as I even said, I love season 19, but you'll have a time flight. You'll always have a duffer. But you've got to let them fly. I can see you both nodding there, Christian.
I was thinking along the lines of it depends on who's being challenged. The irony is when these brilliant talents made their presence known in Doctor Who, the challenge was to the way the BBC wanted to see things done. Today, the challenge is not against the way the BBC wants to see things done. The challenge is to see how many classic fans you can offend and still keep watching the show. There aren't any new fans. So the question is, let's challenge the fans and see if they stick with us. And that's the wrong attitude to take.
Well, I approve of this attitude. Michael Nemo, thank you very much. $2 for showing Davros in a skirt. Well, me and Garbage come up with amazingly crazy stuff sometimes. But John, you were nodding your head about this challenging thing, and maybe Doctor Who needs those people who are either at the beginning of the career, and this is where we might argue, because I know some people are saying, and I've seen them in the thread saying, get somebody established. You said Terry Matalas. You're talking about get established people in. That is possible. Maybe people who are very established in TV and or other, things, and have a successful platform, but maybe just not necessarily successful in sci-fi though.
I mean, I would say that, the reason I bring up Terry Matalas is the fact that he's done two things that I'm enjoying immensely, which is 12 Monkeys and Star Trek Picard season 3. And I've got strong hopes of his Vision Quest series on Disney Plus in 2026. It's someone like that who's still young, relatively young, who has got the chops to do it, and his team have got the chops to do it. And I think it's at a point now where it really needs someone at the BBC to be brought in as an exec to effectively go, look, we got to take some radical decisions here. This is a sleeping giant. I can't believe what's happened to it over the last decade. We need to get this back to glory days. Therefore, we're going to widen the net. We're going to actually bring people in who, like you said, may have done a few things we don't know of them particularly, but they can pitch. You've got the likes of Terry Matalas and co who could come in and do it and do a great job of it. I think you just got to widen the net and actually do a thorough job, because for me, and again, my view on the BBC at the moment is there is an element of laziness with BBC execs. They're not doing that, widening the net and doing a proper review of, right, who could we put on the shortlist as a potential new showrunner? They keep going to the obvious, which is, well, we'll bring RTD back. Oh, okay. Now it's going to be Pete McTeague who's going to take over from it, because, he's worked with them on it. We've seen some stuff that he's done on Doctor Who. So let's give him the gig, and round in circles you go until you widen that. You're not going to get any new vision, new direction.
And this is why there is a problem, like Tony Farrell's saying here. Would an experienced TV executive really want to touch Doctor Who in the current state, especially with the BBC's avowed DEI targets? And as my source has been saying, that's why Hollywood is dying. Partly the price, but partly because nobody wants to put their ideas forward to be decimated by the DEI agendas at the moment. Now, so I get that, but I know Tony Farrell from talking to the source, and the source obviously knows other producers, that they are still keen to, Doctor Who is still seen as, a big brand. BBC is still in some ways seen as a powerful heavyweight in media, so they're still worth working for. And so, I mean, Joe Chapman on our channel, you know, she's an ex-media producer. And when she talks to me in private, she talks about, oh, the BBC, they're heavyweights, you know, so there's still an awful lot of people who want to work for them, despite the fact that it's going to be problematic. But it's like you think, oh, if I can get in that sixth floor and I can just have my little fiefdom of Doctor Who and I'll tinker with it. You just hope for the best. I'm sure JNT thought that. I'm sure they all thought like that. It's just that then you fight the whole admin, don't you?
Yeah. Can I say something radical here? Someone comes in who wants a job as an exec, who wants to be involved with Doctor Who and overseeing it. Lie. Do it. Say, yeah, we're going to put all of that in. And this person comes in, or that woman, you know, they've got the guts to basically go, do you know what? I'm going to do it my way. You know, Verity Lambert did that and basically go, look,
yeah,
what's going to happen here? If it fails, I'm out the door anyway. If it succeeds, they're going to let me do what I want anyway. So I'm not really at a loss here. So let me just lie and say, yeah, we'll put all your DEI in it. And then what you do is you produce the series, you stand by that series. If it succeeds, great. You know, you move forward, you get a new series, you get a new run with it. Because as you've said, they don't, as you said, Brendan, to me before, and the source said this, these BBC execs, they don't watch Doctor Who. So if you say to them, oh yeah, you can have DEI in it, but they're not going to check it.
But the only snag is, let's face it, is we want a Philip Hinchcliffe, we want a Barry Letts, we want a Verity Lambert, we want an Innes Lloyd who will take risks. We don't want a risk-averse producer.
No.
But in what you're saying there about, you know, well, just get in the job, say what you need to, and then do what you... The snag is, we're in a culture now, aren't we, John and Christian, where the media panics at one complaint from one side of things. Any complaint that might be racially slightly problematic, that might be slightly insensitive, that triggered two people in Wigan. Sorry, Stephen O'Neill. You know, suddenly you're removed from your job. So that would surely make any producer, sadly, very risk averse.
But that's why you need someone with balls of steel to basically go, okay, yeah, I'm going to produce this, because regardless if it works or not, if it doesn't work, I'm out the door anyway. So I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, even if Shirley in Manchester has got a problem by the fact that I had blue trainers instead of pink trainers, you know, that's you should just go, right, I'm doing it my way. If not, I'll move on to a new project. That's it. It needs someone to take that ballsy risk with it.
Yeah,
I know you're saying it's a ballsy risk, but Christian, is it a ballsy risk that we'd have seen in the past? But now, like Chris Eccleston, you could be blacklisted by the whole of the media profession.
That's the gamble, and I think at that point, it depends on how committed the person is to taking this chance. I think a lot of people are more willing to take a chance with an original property that they're crafting. This is their tour de force. This is their treatise. This is their commitment. This is the show they really want to do. And if they don't get to do it, or they don't get to do it and succeed, they're willing to walk away because this was theirs.
Yeah.
If you're coming in to be a steward of an ongoing property, that's a little bit different. You're gambling on the possibility that you're going to throw away your career because they didn't like your stewardship. And you know, RTD notwithstanding in his current stewardship of the show, ha ha ha. But you know, it's a gamble. But I think John is right in this respect. If someone does go in and they're willing to take the chance, and success proves their point, gosh, we really think this we needed to have one more person of diverse representation in the show. It wasn't there. We've got 12 million viewers. We don't care. We're going to can this producer and blacklist him for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Chances are with numbers like that, they wouldn't make that gamble because the success is you're in at that point.
And you lie to them as well. You go, oh, they're in there, but you've just got to look for them. I've seeded them throughout the series.
Yeah.
Then let them go away and try and find these imaginary diverse people throughout the series. That'll be great fun.
Now we've got a question from Farsight. You can see the question there. I will play the little kind of thank you very much, by the way, and I'll just play the clip. If we got a slightly bigger super chat, I've got a surprise with the Who Pets, but it's a bit of a juicier one. And so thank you, Farsight. There's the question. We'll answer it just after this clip.
With your good. I'll treat the wife to a blue rinse.
Rinse, she sounds like Mrs. Slocum. So Jamie Matheson, I know the name, but I have to say nothing's ringing a bell for me, lads, because
Yeah, I mean, look, to give you an idea of stories that he wrote, Mummy on the Orient Express, which is a great Capaldi story. Flatline, another great story of Doctor Who. Oxygen is a favorite of mine as well. You know, the one where Capaldi goes blind in it. You know, he's in space. That's a good one. So there is, you know, there's a possibility that he could come up with something great. But I think for me, it's going back to what I said a few minutes ago. I think it's just got to widen the palette now, because although I understand what Mr. You know, what has been said about him, put him on the list, but I don't want us to have that narrow. They wrote for Doctor Who in the last 10 years or so. Therefore, it's only got to be that narrow list.
And I think that's the issue. Joining on with John's point, Squinty Mint has made 2 points, see, and I'm just showing. Well, I've shown both of them.
Yeah,
actually.
good point.
There are other BBC shows that have nothing like the messaging of recent Doctor Who. And so actually it's more an issue with the production team, and that marries with what John was saying, and I agree with it, that if they, I mean, I really have got money on it being Pete McTeague. I've got money on it just being, it's like a baton relay in Doctor Who.
It is.
Now, I'm sorry. And it was a baton relay slightly in the 70s as well. You've got to agree that Innes Lloyd passed it to Peter Bryant. You've got to agree that, what should we call it? John Nathan Turner, you know, who he knew and who he would pass it on, and who he would kind of get involved. We've had Buggins' turn with Nuwho. There's been a few other moments when the baton relays kind of happened, but I agree with you. There's other shows out there that just get on with the show, and it grieves me, Christian, that why does it have to be Doctor Who that is this platform or battlefield that is ruining this? I tell you what, everyone's going to cheer up in a minute when I show you what Innes Lloyd said, because it just makes you think this is easy.
Well, it's an easy fix, but then again, you're talking about a science fiction property, and for some reason, over the last 20 years or so, science fiction IPs are seen as both a cash cow and as expendable. You can mutate them any way you want, and it doesn't matter if you're true to the property or to the fans.
Stephen O'Neill in Wigan, because I'm blaming Wigan for lots of things. You can have the best writers in the world and the best storylines of all time, but you still need an actor with gravitas. Oh, we're going to mention William Hartnell tonight. We're going to mention Patrick Troughton tonight, and it's a different world completely.
Look, I think I'm pretty sure that 90% of us in the chat and on the panel tonight, we've got no problem with diversity whatsoever. But what you want is, you don't want forced diversity. You want organic diversity, where the characters are well written, that you actually feel invested in those characters from beginning to end. When I look at classic Doctor Who, there are characters in those stories. They could turn up for one story, but I care about those characters. I don't know if they're going to make it through to the end of the story, because I'm invested in them, and I'm actually showing care towards them within the first 25-minute episode. Now you can go a full season of RTD era Who. You don't care about any of those characters because you don't know the characters, because they're just cutouts.
What about
that's
Poppy?
the
Poppy.
Poppy.
I was getting worried about Poppy. Anyway,
It's a 20-year arc, that one.
oh God help us! Yeah, she'll be 20 odd. She'll come back as the Doctor. You watch. Now
Don't give them ideas.
Oh, they don't need help from me. I know. So I have been trailing Innes Lloyd, bless him. And so I think it's time. It's time, and it's about time. So here we go.
I'm terribly proud of Doctor Who. It was a legacy given to us by Sydney. I'd only agreed to do the show for 1 year, and I stayed.
Straight away, if you've seen the documentary, and I know people in the thread have, because obviously I can only do little clips, he was saying in that first part, lads, he was saying how much respect he had, even though he's not a sci-fi fan. He said, I respected what Sydney set up, and he wanted to leave it successful. And I don't know, the language to me sounds much more respectful than the way we hear the present showrunners talk.
Sounds honest. When I listen to RTD, he's a showman, but it doesn't sound honest. There's a difference.
Yeah, I think also for that, you're right, Brendan, that he sounds very respectful of what has come before him. And I think regardless of him putting his own stamp on the show, he also respected what had come before, and he kept the core elements of what made Doctor Who Doctor Who. Yeah. Now you've got producers who are basically chucking out what makes Doctor Who Doctor Who to fit their own narrative. That's what they're doing now. They're not respecting what's come before it. They've basically gone, right, this is a science fiction show. This is, the Doctor fighting off the monsters of the week. Well, that doesn't quite work with the message that we want to send about diversity. So we're going to change it now to be more about diversity and representation than about defeating the monsters. That's where we are now. Well, and it's a shame.
Well, you see, I was joking earlier about the Davros in the skirt thing, but the point is, when we were talking about, you were talking about showrunners having balls of steel in the future and lying to get the job just to then do it their way. But he signaled to us straight away by saying, I'm going to change Davros because it might hurt people. And you're going, you've actually completely missed the point of what Doctor Who is. In fact, Innes Lloyd in a minute will say he wants to scare the kids. He wanted he called it subtle horror, not gore, subtle horror. And he wanted adventure. In fact, what I'll do is I'll play this bit. I've got the slides to go with it, so it'll just give us a nice taster, lads. And people who haven't seen it, like I can see Sadako saying, I'll have to see it. Yeah, it's a really good documentary. Here we go.
I'm terribly proud of Doctor Who. It was a legacy given to us by Sydney. I'd only agreed to do the show for 1 year, and I stayed. I'd done all I set out to do. Look, there's a limited run in doing this show. Because if you do it for more than 3 years, you'd get awfully stale.
Yes, we're going to revisit that quote, everyone. Just give us a minute. Do it more than 3 years and you go stale.
It's funny what he says that, because me and Christian were talking when you went out with the mic and were coming back in. We were talking about, how long would you do the show for if it was you, free, and we both sort of agreed on that 3 to 5 year arc, but also having a contingency and a short list of potential replacements if that button is pushed at the 3 year point. So it's interesting that he said that. And again, it comes back to how hungry you are, doesn't it?
Well,
inspiring production.
It's about you set yourself targets and you set yourself a success criteria, and you are ambitious for yourself, and therefore you push hard. If you give yourself a 3 year time frame as showrunner, you're gonna have to bust some ass. You're gonna have to really go at it, but and knacker yourself, stretch yourself, challenge yourself, learn new things, and then move on afresh to something else. You are a great commodity to have for your next thing, rather than play safe because you familiarity breeds contempt, because you actually happen to be a Doctor Who fan, and and we all know where we go. You start to eat yourself up. So Everybody, we're going to revisit that phrase in a moment. Don't you worry.
I don't like science fiction. I dislike it intensely. And then, of course, I got to enjoy it and love it. It was great fun. I discovered the fascination of it. The fascination was that you could actually do anything you wanted to.
What have you done? Stop meddling with my ship!
And don't want to make any sweeping changes. We had so many good things going for us. We aim at the 14-year-olds. I reckon on the main viewing group being 14 to 40. But I found him a very endearing man. Once one got to know him. We've all got foibles, and I think all he wanted to do was make sure that Doctor Who was always right up there.
Oh, I tell you what, when you hear that, you know, somebody who just believed in the program. I missed one thing out, you know. I'm a little devil. I'm so silly, aren't I? When I edit myself out of things, I missed the joke at the end. Here we go.
That was one of the worst programs I've ever seen. I need to cleanse my palate and watch the Sense Sphere.
Yeah.
That Brendan really knows his stuff.
Excellent.
How can I miss my own punchlines? Ridiculous, isn't it? So he's the first one, lads, because I know you'll be down to pick up. I really found it a thoroughly enjoyable documentary about a different era of TV. He said, I'd only agreed to do the show for 1 year, but 1 year, and I stayed for 2. I'd done all I set out to do, mainly to get a diversity of story and attract to the show the finest actors and actresses possible. I said to Sydney Newman, there's a limited run in doing this show because if you do it for more than 3 years, you're going to get awfully stale. And I think, you know, some people say, oh, that's an old-fashioned view. Oh, nah. I think there's certain truisms about our psychology and about how we humans operate. After 3 years, bang. I remember working for a head teacher. She said, in the first year, we're carrying you, Brendan. In the second year, you're running with us. In the third year, you'll be pulling us. And she said, and it's the third year we're waiting for. And what a great philosophy. You know, and then she expects me to move on and get a promotion elsewhere. That lots of people understand this 3-year thing, and I don't think it matters whether we're in 2025 or 1604. I really don't.
No, I tend to agree. There's something about the fresh infusion of energy. Let's say you're a writer. You're gonna have 5 or 6 brilliant ideas in your mind. You're going to have gone through those in several permutations. Now it becomes the law of diminishing returns as you revisit those, and you're not quite sure in this format how you can visit those tried and true stories from your personal vantage point. So you move on to something else. It's another show, it's another series, another set of characters, a different circumstance, and now you can apply your creative brilliance to that format. But at the same time, you've opened up a space for someone to come in behind you and nurture the program left behind. And if there's a seamless transition, you benefit, your successor benefits, the show benefits, and the fan benefits. It's everyone wins.
I just want to say, just before John comes in, Michael Nemo, thank you very much. He loves the fact he's given us money for saying balls of steel and Davros in a skirt in the same breath. We'll be on a charge. We'll be on a charge for that. William Morlock says 3.5 years, maybe 4, if finding a successor takes time. The snag, William, is I agree with succession planning. You know, that's another thing people should do rather than have a panic attack. But succession planning could end up being cronyism. Hello, Pete. How are you looking for next year? Oh, okay, you're busy. What about Stephen? Stephen, hiya. Stephen, can you do the Christmas special? That sort of thing. Rather than, have you got a brilliant idea for the Christmas special? So I think that is the problem we've got. Yeah, I like this. I love the way he's going. I'm going to push myself in this time frame to get the best I can for this show, to push it forward. And that's humility, isn't it, lads?
Mm-hmm.
After 3 years, you've got the best of me. There's a lot of people who would just sit on a job. We know people, we've worked with people who do this. They just sit on the job. They're comfortable. But that's not getting the best out of them. They're just comfortable. And sometimes they're hard to bloody sack.
Yeah, he's playing it, you know, you can easily go on like we've got at the moment, where you just play it safe because you're quite happy to pick up your paycheck, you know, and just farm out a load of nonsense. I think with this, he was hungry to make sure that he could do it the best that he possibly felt that he could. And not only that, he was making sure that he brought in the best writers that he felt could do the job for him as well, and to assist him with it. So he made sure that he had the team put together that he wanted to make sure he produced that success in his mind. Whether the viewers agree or not, in his mind, he could walk away at the end of the 3-year period and go, I gave everything to that. It was as good as I wanted it to be. I can rest easy. Now, that is not happening at all. The best writers aren't being brought in for production, for writing scripts. As we know, the evidence was there from season 1 and 2 of Shooty. And therein lies the problem. The best are not being brought in.
No, they've not phoned me up yet. But Squinty Mint is helping out our American friends here about why are we seeing documentaries of a 60s producer and all the rest of it. It's BBC4, you see, and the BBC have discovered on the cheap that they can show lots of 60s and 70s TV, and we actually like it more than present day. Go figure. But the other thing that me and John will have discovered, maybe because Christian's on the outside here, but I know he'll probably be on the same page as us. When you watched anybody on BBC4, they showed you episode 1 of The Ice Warriors from 1967, and then they showed you the documentary. And I sat there going, why did we have a Sea Devils omnibus edited by Benjamin Cook when we were told that modern audiences can only cope with everything condensed? And then suddenly we see at 1960s speed and 1960s direction style, a full episode from that era. Those two things don't marry.
It's almost as if, and call me controversial here, that they wanted to edit what is considered to be a classic Doctor Who story to fit their narrative for their spin-off series.
Go figure.
Yeah, because didn't the very beginning of the Sea Devils omnibus have the seas at the start? In fact, we didn't get the opening credits, and it kind of matched. Oh, that sort of crap I hate.
I mean, mate, look, nail on head. It's a complete nonsense when they come out and saying, "Oh, people don't want to watch, you know, classic episodes of shows and, you know, dramas now because the pacing is slower." Absolute nonsense. It's the same in any era. If it's good quality, people will watch it. The characterization, the development of the story, all of that you see in classic Doctor Who, that you don't get in modern Doctor Who. And therein lies the rub. Make something decent, people will tune in at whatever pacing you want to do. But the fact is, you're not making anything decent, and classic rules supreme.
When you've got somebody like Innes Lloyd saying, you know, push yourself, then you get stale. I mean, remember, that is self-criticism, that's modesty, that's humility, that's self-awareness, and that's not greed. And then you hear this.
Times get tough, TV gets timid. And you all know how hard it is to deal with compliance. And I'm not blaming the people in compliance. They work very hard and have a tough job to do. I do blame their bosses for getting scared. And I can feel it. I've literally had experience of this. The compliance is getting tough. You can't say this, you can't say that. You have to balance it. No, you don't have to balance it. It's like you can just be strong and say what you want. And I think then that is where censorship creeps in. The censorship isn't the government, isn't the authorities, it's in us. That's when we sit there and say, oh, they won't like that. Oh, you can't do that. You can't say that. And then the worst form of censorship of all comes in at home, where the writers, and I don't just mean drama, I mean writers, whether in children's or factual or documentaries, entertainment, where those creators sit there saying, I can't write that. They won't like that. They won't accept that. They won't make that. And that is the worst form of censorship that exists, because it censors an idea before it's ever been shown to someone.
No, actually, the worst form of censorship is telling your own viewers and your own fans to shut up.
Now, with the danger that is coming towards us, indisputably coming towards us, we now need a world in which the BBC stands for Big Balls Corporation.
And can we also say, to counter what he's saying, we're also talking about the BBC that have been proven to have lied about editing footage and are now being sued for several billion. So put a sock in it, RTD, and shut up, mate.
Well, they did have big balls trying to edit the actual events to service a political purpose.
I mean, but what he says as well, guys, and I want your responses on this, where he goes on about HR, okay? HR, it drives me mad with this idiot, because he's one of the worst censors, because he is not bringing in writers that think a different way to him. So that's censorship in itself, isn't it? So he can moan about HR as much as he wants, but what makes me laugh again, and I will finish after this, the inclusive bunch, they say inclusive, it's only inclusive until they don't like how you think, then then they're eliminating you from the conversation. That's what they do. That's what he does.
I'd like to use a different word. It's discrimination. Because if you don't employ, it's a public service broadcaster, so the rules are different. It should be on blooming merit. You might not like their viewpoint on life, but they're good story writers. Therefore, you employ them. End of. Because the show's is more important than your little foibles and your own background. And I love the fact that Innes Lloyd said, we all have foibles, so don't start. In fact, he was given a nice, kind of bubble wrap around William Hartnell. And isn't it funny, since everybody has a nice little kind of bite at him? Meanwhile, Innes Lloyd, who worked with him at the time, said he has his foibles, we all have our foibles. And how true that is. Can the first person say they're better than, I'm sorry. This is the trouble with 2025, this revisionism. And that's where the editing and colorization and issues have come in, and the animations, where basically apparently not our generation, but the people in the media now think we are better than those in the past. We wouldn't allow that. So we're changing that, old-fashioned attitudes. And they do all that, and you're going, who the hell are you? Leave it alone. You've heard William Hartnell get slagged off by various people for certain things. And there's Innes Lloyd, who worked with him, saying he was a lovely man. I really liked him once I got to know him. And we all have foibles. And I think that's very, very fair and decent of him.
That shows a level of honesty and sincerity on the part of Innes Lloyd. I dare say that Rtd is genuinely full of himself. And honestly, can you imagine what the UK would be like if he were, say, the Prime Minister?
Oh gosh, it wouldn't be much different with the current idiot.
No. I mean, I'm trying to find where I was actually. There's so many issues. When he speaks, there are so many issues to pick up. But my point in showing that little RTD speech, everybody, was not to trigger you at Christmas. It was to say, Innes Lloyd is saying, after 2 or 3 years, you get stale. And when people get stale, they sometimes get a bit bitter. They get a bit angry. They get a bit fiery and frustrated and tired. There was my correlation, everybody.
Can I just say, in my opinion, this is why I say RTD is not a great writer. He's a good writer. He's got track records on previous shows he's written. But to be a great writer means that you're able to write for both sides of the aisle and let the audience make up their mind about how they think about things. He can't do that. He can only quote from his particular side of the aisle. Things have gone on in the last year or so, in the last 2 years or so. He hasn't made a comment at all about it because it doesn't fit his narrative. That's the difference now. That's where we are in 2025/2026.
And we've got Oram here. Good to see you. And what you're saying, Oram, is exactly how I felt before they cast the 15th Doctor. Because I was doing that chess game and I was thinking, if they saw the female choice as some sort of, it didn't quite work, you know, however they viewed it, and we have to go back to a man, ooh, we don't like being told what to do, right, but we'll have to make sure we do something. And it's awful because it makes you so cynical. But the trouble was, because we know the game they're playing, became very predictable, and that is a superficial choice.
Yeah.
Black, white, Indian, or what? It's a superficial choice. Did it make a good storyline? As in, was he an interesting characterization of the Doctor? And the answer was, I wasn't interested in how many times he cried.
No, well, I have to say, you pointed out something. It was easy to predict. Aaron was right. He predicted that. I predicted it. The people that I talked to prior to Gatwa being announced predicted it. So when we were coming to the end of Whittaker's run and we had that last shot of Tennant, we thought, well, this is different. I was fully expecting a black gay Doctor. And lo and behold, Tennant was there for 3 eps, and then exactly what everyone predicted. So everyone could see the writing on the wall, but it's partly because their motivations are very predictable.
But remember, sorry, John, before I forget. But remember, I've actually said the Jodie Doctor was gay, wasn't she? Because she fancied you know who. You then had the 14th Doctor in those 3 specials, and by the second special he said, oh, I fancied Isaac Newton. Then you had the 15th Doctor who was gay. So suddenly what we've had in almost a decade now, and remember, I'm gay, so I'm not being homophobic, anybody who's just joined us. I'm just making the point that from being a certain type of character, suddenly the Doctor for the last decade has been basically in the LGBTQ bracket. Isn't that amazing?
It's, I mean, when Gatwa was announced, and I was like, I will always give someone the benefit of the doubt. I'm on record. I wasn't a fan of Jodie Whittaker, and I stand by it. I don't believe in a female Doctor. The Doctor is a male of his species, yada yada yada. But I at least tried a few of her episodes, and I thought they were appalling, so I stepped away. When the 60th came along, and obviously Gatwa had been cast, I was pleased to see Tennant back, and that was where I've said before, I had goodwill towards RTD coming back and the new production team, you know, and I think a lot of people were like that. And then I saw it was the red carpet at the BAFTAs, and for me straight away, literally, Shooty had that outfit on where he's showing his chest cut out, you know. And RTD, they're literally almost grinding against each other because they're that close. And I thought to myself, something is weird here. And the first thing that came out of Gatwa's mouth was representation. And straight away I was like, right, I know what I'm going to get 100% now. And again, I was proven right. And I knew it wouldn't succeed. And I've been proven right on that. And the audience have followed along and agreed on that.
This is the point. If everything was played straight, what we're saying here is from William Hartnell onwards, every time the actor was cast in their first a couple of interviews, did they say, I'm the first person from Wigan, I'm the first person from the South, I'm the first person from my area to be represented, I'm the first person of my class? No, they just said, in fact, when they normally did that interview, they hadn't seen any of the scripts. So normally they were just flying and saying, I'm looking forward to it, blah, blah, blah. But they hadn't seen any of the storylines because it's the storyline that makes your character. Tom Baker didn't know how he was going to play the Doctor. John Pertwee didn't know how he was going to play the Doctor. In other words, it was this undiscovered country. It was very exciting, nerve-wracking, dangerous. That's what you want. Whereas now it's going, well, we're going to play it gay and it's going to represent all the gay people. So, and you're going, but that's not a story.
Can I ask, guys, have we seen the Doctor since Capaldi went? I would say I don't think we have seen the Doctor at all since Capaldi's gone. I think we've seen little cutouts of the Doctor to fit, their narrative. Dr. Light, I would call it.
I mean, there were parts of David Tennant in The Giggle where I thought, do you know what? If it slowed down, I always want it to slow down. But I thought, well, we have a doctor, we have a companion. The toy maker was powerful. There were certain moments when they were trapped in those corridors and everything and those dodgy puppets. And I thought, oh, it might even go dark. But that was for a second. And so there were touches, John, where I thought we nearly had it.
I think you're right. I think it could have been, it could have been good. It really could have been. But again, not only did they come back and they thought we want to do this, I just think they were straight out of the traps. They were antagonistic towards the fan base as well, almost as if they were goading the fans as well. And a lot of the fans who, as I said, me included, with good faith came back and said, we're going to support you on this journey. And they came back and they started, go and touch grass and all of that nonsense. And again, they deserved everything they got.
Yeah. Yeah. You should never show aggression to your own consumer.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stefan's agreeing with you, but I think we kind of are all agreeing. I was just trying to think of one little moment or two. Squinty Mint, of course, I do like this kind of, we're not all an echo chamber. We have viewpoints that are slightly different and different angles. Although it wasn't my cup of tea, Rtd's soapiness was a twist on the format in 2005. But by coming back, he didn't see the show afresh. I think Squinty Mint, I'm not knocking any of that. I actually agree with that. I was bought into the 2005 agenda. I found it fresh to see the Companions family. I did. So I can't change my opinion now. I'm sorry. I agree that once he's done it again and again and again, I'm bored with it. It's not fresh. I don't want to see every single Companion family.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
guys. It's the fact is he's come back now. Nothing feels fresh anymore. And I think I've said to you guys before, when 2005 came along, I actually felt Doctor Who was setting a trend with shows out there. It was like, oh, look how good Doctor Who is globally. People were talking about it. Now he's coming back. He's tried to copy the same format as he had in 2005. But also, in addition to that, he's tried to copy other series. Doctor Who should never try to rip off other series. It should try and be original. Yes, it will riff off of the Twilight Zone episodes and things like that. We know that, with the Autons and stuff, but that it does its own unique thing. And I think that's the trouble now. What he said about what's the Black Mirror.
Yeah,
he did that episode riffing off of Black Mirror, and it's like, if you're going to do a Black Mirror episode, ask Charlie, what's his name, to come in and write it.
Exactly, because he doesn't want to give control away. Now, John, you asked the question about when was the last time we saw Doctor Who, and the thread are answering, so I'm going to get through there. Stephen O'Neill, I agree, John, we haven't seen the Doctor since Christmas Day 2017. Domgo, Tennant made me vomit on those specials, so I dare say you didn't see the Doctor there. Funky, there was a moment in Star Beast when Tennant put the lawyer wig on that felt Doctor-ish. Funky, I could maybe go for it. Was a bit Stones of Blood, that bit when Tom Baker. The bit that I think was the problem was straight after that, when he'd actually forced by wiggling his sonic screwdriver, that suddenly he had the two Wrath Warriors there, and he dragged them there for a kind of mock up in the car park. And as you know, it was an ambush in the end, and beat the meep, killed them. So that wasn't too hot. I've heard I've gone Davros again. It's a killer, isn't it? So we haven't discussed that quote yet. So I dare say I'll meet you in a minute, and you'll have said something amazing.
Yeah.
And the ratings will have gone up higher because I'll have gone.
Yeah. 9,000.
Well, I was about to say, it said he'd like me to produce Doctor Who. I said I don't like science fiction. I dislike it intensely. I don't think at the time he understood the narrative possibilities that science fiction could provide, but once he became familiar with it, he was able to appreciate it. It just took him time to get to that point.
I mean, question, mate, and to people in the chat as well, not liking science fiction or understanding it, potentially that's a bonus for you if you're producing a science fiction show, because you're you've got writers coming in to pitch the story and make you understand as if you're a viewer who might watch it but doesn't understand science fiction themselves. So that helps you to push that science fiction edge to a general audience.
No,
You know,
absolutely true. Well, consider the fact that we talked about the ideal thing is you have a producer and you have a writing team. The writing team is likely familiar with the tropes of science fiction and how to incorporate them into a script, even if you as a producer are not. And as they educate you and you are like the audience, oh, now I get it. It's like someone turns a light switch on. Growing up, I can remember looking at the TV guide as a small child and not being able to read it. And one day after X number of months at school, I was able to pick it up and I was, I can read this. I know what the words say. It was a very epiphanal moment. And for him, Sidney Newman, learning what science fiction could be, what it could offer you narratively, had to have been a very gratifying revelation.
I think you're right. And do you know what I'm longing for? And I want the Doctor Who to return to form, but I'm watching Outer Limits, as I said to you at the moment, the original run. And there are non sci-fi writers that wrote for that.
Yeah.
But it's intelligent sci-fi, those stories that they tell. And Doctor Who was like that. And this is me. This is my wish for 2026 onwards. I just want intelligent science fiction from Doctor Who again. I want it. I don't want to be told what to think. I want to finish the episode and think about what I've just watched. That's the difference. And I really hope one day we get back to that, because
I mean the magic was in the documentary that Innes Lloyd's wife was saying how he loved so much once he had Jerry Davies and Kit Pedler on board, and as a three they would sit, and she just said how her husband loved those creative chats. And you think, but RTD does his scripts in his house in Swansea on his own, and you know, we all know of Barry Letts with Terence Dicks, Philip Hinchcliffe with Robert Holmes, and you know, David Whittaker, Verity Lambert, you know, go through, even Eric Sayward when he was working with John Nathan Turner. You need that. I mean, I have a chat with you lads and I'll suddenly get an idea that I'll use later on. I'll talk to Garbage, I'll get an idea. We all need to bounce off people who just does everything on their own and it's amazing straight away, really.
Yeah. I think also you're right. I think that whole creative process, it is lacking these days, I think. And again, I'm no specialist. I don't work in writers' rooms, but you see it at work now. It happens a lot more where, you know, it's an online meeting or, you know, that sort of process. But I think that is also where you also need people who politically think differently or ideologically, because essentially I've said before, you have this clash. Someone pushes back and says, no, that won't work. You know, if that's going to, or someone else says, if that's going to work, you're going to need to do this, that, and the other. And out of that constructive arguing, something good is made out of it that becomes the script, that becomes the production for that story. And until we get back to a mindset like that, where political views are excluded from the production process, everybody is welcome to pitch, I don't think we're ever going to see a glory days of Doctor Who science fiction or any other science fiction, unfortunately.
But they aren't doing science fiction either. They're doing soap. They're doing what they think is character emoting. I love, and I think this is one of my favorite slides, quotations, the one about being stale and this one, because as he says again, what an honest bloke this Innes Lloyd is. He says to somebody who says, I want to promote you to producer of Doctor Who, and he goes, but I hate sci-fi. I mean, you said be honest, John, or lie, really. But wow, he was not trying to kind of, you know, blow up his ass, was he? He was I said I don't like sci-fi. I dislike it intensely. And you know what? He's a good producer. He's done a lot in outside broadcast and sport. He's done a lot of the royal broadcasts and stuff like that. He comes to Doctor Who, he shadows them for for the Ark, and then he goes, "Wow, I love this. It's so flexible." And I kind of like that more than somebody who goes, "I know Doctor Who inside out. I know what to do with it." And actually, you bloody don't.
Well,
Now,
you trust your writers, don't you? You trust your writers in that situation. That's it breeds that trust because you have to.
Well,
great.
I look at it also this way. Sidney Newman was smart and recognized something in that you are qualified to do this job. I see something in you that you are not seeing in yourself. If he had gone in there banging his drum saying, "I want this gig," that would have been an entirely different conversation and probably an entirely different kind of leadership tenure that may not have been as promising. Sometimes the best person to promote to a leadership role is the person who doesn't want it.
Well, I did say that if thank you very much, Michael Nemo. That's a lovely, generous super chat. Never liked the Doctor having a romance or LGBT or straight. I never saw the full charm of River. Hated the idea of them together. Come on, the Doctor should be smooth down there like Ken and Barbie. Basically, no, yes, he should be. Yes, I know what you're saying exactly. And because you've been so generous, I've saved this. I'm going to rebrand the Who Pets. What about this? This is thanks to Greg Chapman. Thank you very much.
In 2024, a crack team of puppets began working for an ex-school teacher, Brendan. In 2025, the puppets promptly escaped from a house in County Durham and went into hiding. Today, they survive as puppets of fortune. If you have a problem and you need help and you can find them, you can hire the Who Pets.
Thank you, Greg.
You told me though, but you're going to have the end scene of the Jeep flying up outside your house and crashing upside down. Did you not do that?
Adversity and budget.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've got Mr. Big now. There's another one.
Yeah. Chinese year of the ego coming up, let everybody.
Yeah. Hey, I'm like RTD. I tell you. No. So yes, I mean, you only have to look at some of this Innes Lloyd here and you think, God, I wished I was alive then. So he continues, I got to enjoy it and I loved Doctor Who. It was great fun. I discovered the fascination of it. You could actually do anything you wanted to. I would disagree with that, actually. And that was fun in drama terms. It could cover an enormously wide horizon of things. Christian, I will push back a bit on you can do anything you want to. I do think the format is not completely flexible, and I think Rtd'S proved that.
No, that is true. I think science fiction as a format opens up doors for allegorical storytelling, often based on the evolution or movement of cultures or technology in a way that we can kind of project into a different kind of future, which creates a different kind of conflict. But once you have established a format, and the format for Doctor Who is the Doctor as a Time Lord, periodically regenerates, maintains his individuality and uniqueness, periodically getting involved with various cosmic crises and resolving them, oftentimes with a companion who doesn't have to be present-day human, by the way. and you can actually craft a long-lasting format that's constantly renewed, provided you operate within that structure. If you decide you're going to turn it into EastEnders in space, that doesn't pay the bills. If you're going to turn it into a propaganda arm of the BBC, that doesn't do the job. So you do have to follow certain strictures to make a success.
And there's certain ones that are more successful, John, aren't there? I mean, I'm still praying that one day they'll decide to make it more dark, more scary. I'm still praying for that moment.
I would love it. I mean, again, me and you have talked so many times about my love for the Hinchcliffe era. I'm not alone in that. I really love that horror, element of it. Wonderful. I'd love it to go back to that. But then I'm also, McCoy was my first Doctor, and I liked, towards the end they were going the darker Doctor route. I liked they were trying something with that as well. It's just we're constantly in a loop now where after Capaldi we had Jodie Whittaker, who basically I think was just given the format of just do a combination of David Tennant and Matt Smith. Then we had Ncuti Gatwa, and it was like, well, just play yourself as a gay man, and that's what he did. It didn't go anywhere. There was no development of them whatsoever. I just want the Doctor to be the Doctor fighting monsters, but actually I want to get back to what Doctor Who is about, and it's the old saying, behind the sofa. Kids scared, hiding behind the sofa but peeking up to see what's going on. That's what it needs to get back to, and it can get back to that, but it needs someone with balls to do that.
And Innes Lloyd was in charge of what's now being called the monster season, because in the end he thought, I think this is the way it should go. He took the fantasy out. Isn't it funny that we're in a place now where fantasy was put right back in?
Yeah.
Look
at those images. Look at that image that you just had with the Yeti. I mean,
I know.
It's phenomenal, lovely. Isn't it? It really is.
Well, you see, I mean, I can jump to various things. We will just judge the inventions of RTD as opposed to the inventions of Innes Lloyd in a moment, everybody, to play very fair, I have to say, who was the real pioneer. I was fascinated by this, though, because we keep getting patronized nowadays. I think RTD goes on about 8-year-olds a lot, doesn't he? And I always go on about being a 6-year-old watching Genesis of the Daleks and loving it. Here, Innes Lloyd, fascinating, I think. We aim at the 14-year-olds, although we reckon the main viewing group's 14 to 40. We must leave it for parents to decide if their younger children should watch it, and if we had a good gutsy adventure, we might even get the parents watching too. In other words, we're aiming for the family and adults.
That's what you're angling. That's what you want. If you're angling for just 8-year-olds alone, you're going to create a different kind of product, and it may not be one that we approve of, especially if you have a particular agenda in mind. But look at the old Warner Brothers cartoons from the 40s and 50s. A lot of the humor would go over the heads of the kids, but they got the type of humor, the slapstick, over the top slaps and falls with great enjoyment. The adults got the higher level intellectual and double entendre related jokes. So actually it became a family friendly product. And the idea we see here, we're aiming at the 14 to 40-year-olds, full families. Everyone can find an entry point in it that's not abrasive, not offensive, not going to scare people away, and not bore them stiff. He wasn't there to patronize the audience and transform them to a particular point of view. I wish current producers could kind of learn from that.
Yeah, and you aim you aim up rather than aim down, and if you aim it, I mean, God, we're trying to make CBeebies Doctor Who now. It's like, what the hell? Do you know what? Go on, make CBeebies Doctor Who, but that means you free up the main show to be very adult and family. End of. You don't make it space babies. You don't make it silly. You don't have silly fart jokes. You actually properly make a proper program to entertain and scare. And then the CBeebies can do whatever twaddle they're doing on that one.
And again, it comes back to the fact that he and the team that work with him just are not capable of writing that kind of science fiction. They just do not have the ability. And I think 2005 era Doctor Who, you know, I look at it in hindsight now. I look back and I think to myself, well, look at the writers that RTD surrounded himself with in 2005. You know, Rob Shearman's another example for me. Dalek is a standout of season 1, and it's just a phenomenal story. It really is. And again, was adapted from his Big Finish Jubilee story. So there were good writers in season 1 and in his era that wrote stories, and he obviously fleshed them out. I'll give him credit for that. But it shows with the writers he's brought in, he cannot write science fiction.
And look, Verity Lambert, you mentioned earlier, John, Verity Lambert took on Sydney Newman. I mean, God, risky move, but she was a challenger and she did it. And she said, I'm sticking with those blooming Daleks. Innes Lloyd, look at what he did here. He made another decision that goes against Sydney Newman, his boss. One decision we did was to drop the historical stories because we found they weren't popular. I did not think that the historicals worked. I disagreed slightly with Sydney. I couldn't see how they could be educational unless it was about education of what good and evil is. You know, you go in and see your boss and say, your original idea, I'm not going with. Whoa, I mean, God, that's ballsy. You see, that's what we want. We don't want people playing safe. We want people saying, you might have your agenda in the BBC, but our Doctor Who's going to be an outlier, all right? We're going to do it different because it's set in space, so we don't follow all your parochial policies. Do you understand? We're going to do it like this. We're going to pitch it different. In fact, we're going to do a story where there's so many policies that it's actually suffocating the planet. We got, you know, you just do your own thing. You need somebody who's going to challenge, question, push back, and be a bit of a rebel.
Well, again, you know, what you've just said there, 100%. I mean, when I was talking earlier, about the fact that it needs someone with guts that's basically going to say, I'm going to do it my way, because if it fails, I'm out of the job anyway. Verity Lambert, as you just said, you know, she didn't hold back. She was like, well, if it's going to be me, if it's my head on the block, I'm going for it. And she did, and all credit to her. She was also very good at the fact is she was, she was asked about coming back, and she said she would never go back. So she knew her limits, didn't she? She knew she couldn't recreate what she created before. She'd moved on.
And in a way, she started her own company. She started her own film company. I mean, she has a track record of success. I wish she was around, I have to say, because it's a bit like William Hartnell. I wish William Hartnell was around still. And Verity Lambert, to see where we all are now. I'd love to know their opinion.
They would not hold back, would they? They really wouldn't hold back.
No,
they would be respectful, but they would hold back. They wouldn't hold back. They would, especially when they crafted it, to see what has happened to it.
Oh,
you know,
and they have every right. They were the original people. And we as Doctor Who fans, I'm sorry, but in a way, you will always default. I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, I'm sorry, it's William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and Gene Roddenberry. You go back to the original, don't you? You can't help it. You have to. George Lucas, the original Star Wars, the original.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important that we do that. So, do you know what somebody said the other day when I was talking to Stefan doing the Abominable Snowman? They said my shirt looked like Clegg's. Cheeky. They said I was a bit space age. I thought, there's always somebody. No. Anyway, this is what Innes Lloyd's wife said. I was referencing it. He really enjoyed doing it when Jerry Davis and Kit Pedler were there because the three of them would get together and have ideas. He loved that creative part. And of course, they came up with the Cybermen. They came up with regeneration. I mean, not by generation, regeneration. They came up with the original idea, and it should not be ruined.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say we used to be allowed to teach creative writing, and I kind of miss those days. But when I used to teach creative writing, I do activities where the kids would actually have to combine their creative energies to come up with a combined project or story. And I'd watch as their eyes went wide as person A came up with this, person B came up with this, then person C came up, hey, what about adding this to the mix? And they said, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And together that synergy generated a brilliant story idea that would not have happened in isolation. They played off of each other to great success.
Wonderful. You know, that's probably not happening at all now, though, is it? You know,
No.
in a production room, you know, a writer's room, especially with RTD, it's basically right. Here's the board. This is what we're going to do for this story, this story, this story, and this story. I want diversity and equity and inclusion here, 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 and here, and then I want a 10-minute block where they defeat the monster. Off you go. I'll see you in 2 hours.
Yeah. So let me just get myself in order again, just so it's nice, easy to see. Oram there was saying Verity is on record being critical of 80s. So I remember I've got the quote somewhere, but not reboot Who. I'm sure I saw magazine features where Verity met RTD. She did. She was quite ill, I think, and they've got her holding the TARDIS, and they're in the same shot. I was nearly going to use it tonight, but I don't like it in a way because she seems very ill. Of course, she didn't say anything against his approach as it was a hit. And she did see enough, though, Oram. She did see enough. It was quite clear to me where she stood. I wish I had the article in front of me. In fact, SFX revived a bit of it last year.
I think it's the same article, mate, isn't it? Where she also says about she felt that Tom was after Bill, Tom was the most sort of alien doctor. That's the same article, isn't? That's the same interview. I think.
Yes,
she did.
She didn't like the third Doctor, did she? Because she said he was too establishment.
Yeah.
Forgotten Melody here. Current BBC will never back a maverick creator. Their potential showrunner has to practically walk into that interview room with a DEI t-shirt on. That's why my source says to me, so many people are leaving the profession because they don't want their one brilliant idea for a new show to be pulled apart by all the nonsense nowadays. So they'd rather wait and go and do another job, which is a disaster.
Yeah, or write a novel.
We want fresh, new ideas, but people with those ideas are not daring put it onto the altar of DEI because you wouldn't recognize it afterwards. Remember what my source said to me? I said, if I did one about teaching during lockdown, because I've got diaries of it and all the rest of it, he said, well, you won't be in it.
That'd be Shooty Gatwa.
Suddenly
Shooty Gatwa is Brendan Noble.
It was quite funny because I was quoting Adam Kay. Adam Kay did the Junior Doctor's diary, and I said, well, he breaks the fourth wall, and I quite like that. And he said, no, that's not popular. And he told me off, and I'm thinking, well, Doctor Who's doing it now?
I can picture it now, like, you know, Shooty Gatwa as you walking into the classroom. Have you done your homework, babes?
Oh.
That's for you, garbage. Make it happen.
Oh.
Well, Stephen O'Neill's asking if I'm doing a 60-year anniversary of the first appearance. I never look at anniversaries, but Stephen O'Neill, keep reminding me because I just go with the flow. I think you gather I see what gets me angry or gets me happy. And I do a show.
60s Cybermen, can't? Oh, they're wonderful.
But I mean, it's a big one. But just keep reminding me because I don't follow anniversaries per se. But obviously, it's a happy story. Well, is it a happy story? Because they've been butchered a bit as well.
Yeah.
You know, everything we talk about, you go, what about that? What about that? So let's take a look. Right. I like to put this on the record, though, but Innes Lloyd's wife said what he said about William Hartnell. Hartnell was very much like his character in some ways. I found him a very endearing man once one got to know him. We've all got foibles. All he wanted to do was make sure that Doctor Who was always right up there, the best. Do you know what? It almost gets me upset when you hear that because you're going, he was clearly ill. He was clearly feeling under pressure in some ways because obviously trying to be on top of the material when you're ill. Yeah. And but he wanted the show to be the best and he wanted it pushed. And some of those people aren't popular. You know, the people who like it just to do a day job, and he's pushing. Do you know what? I don't think I've heard stories of Shooty Gatwa acting like that, pushing the show, wanting it to be the best. I got the impression that it was a run on the ladder.
Well,
it was a rung on the ladder to him. He wasn't pushing people to improve the stories. Beyond one observation that maybe he was not all in on lacking a profile when they were trying to come up with a costume for the Doctor. I haven't heard anything about him wanting the shows to be better. I thought he figured that they were fine as they were because he was not going to be here long enough for it to matter.
I think my view is that I think the trouble we've had is certainly since Capaldi's gone, they are now bringing in people that who do not respect the role, do not respect the part of the Doctor. They do see it literally as a vehicle maybe to get them to the next stage, which is Hollywood and stardom in the United States. That's how I think Gatwa saw it. I think Jodie Whittaker wasn't overly invested in it, shall we say. And I think what I always laugh about the recent era is the fact that, you know, for the anniversary and an adventure in time and space, they decided to swap out Matt Smith for Shooty Gatwa.
Yeah.
Now that is the classic example of forced diversity. It wasn't earned. Matt Smith had played the Doctor for a few years and he'd earned that right to be there in that part. Shooty we hadn't even seen his broadcast episodes at that point, but they put it in there anyway. That's where we are with Doctor Who. It's not about is it good quality, it is to tick that box.
So when we're talking about this present era and, you know, how long has RTD got to go and all the rest of it, when Innes Lloyd says 3 years max, and remember he left after 2, just look at this hit list of stories and think, did he get consistency? Did he achieve everything he set out? Because look at this: Toymaker, Gunfighters, 10th Planet, Power of the Daleks, Highlanders, Underwater Menace, Moonbase, Macra Terror, Faceless Ones, Evil of the Daleks, Tomb of the Cybermen, Peter Bryant was shadowing him then, Abominable Snowmen, Ice Warriors, Enemy of the World. I mean, wow. Where's the dud? Where's the thing that sank? Where's the Time Flight one? Where's the dodgy one? Honestly, where's the Absorbalov? Where's that
one? where's Poppy?
Yeah, honestly, this is adventure, subtle horror, next. Adventure, subtle horror, next. Let's keep going. Let's keep entertaining. Let's keep changing the locale. This is not kind of going, next week we'll find out whether, you know, Rose is pregnant. And the next week after that, I couldn't give a toss.
Well, can I say, mate, you know, you've done a missing episode show a few weeks back, right? And everyone's excited about potential missing episodes being found, and the excitement is off the scale. Now, they talk of people will pick excitedly will pick what they hope that might come back one day that they will see, you know, and you talk like you see there, like, you know, Evil of the Daleks. You know, that's one for me. That's a favorite of mine that I really want to see completed one day. But in 200 or 300 years time, you know, and there's a Philip Morris of the future that goes out to like a desert shack somewhere, and he comes back and they go, "Good news, everybody. I found season 1 of Shooty Gatwa." Do you honestly think people are actually going to be that excited about it hundreds of years from now about that one? These are still be playing a century, you know, centuries from now. You know, people are still love them.
Because somebody with outdated views, somebody from an old era, somebody who's now called a dinosaur, look at that list. It's like a roll of honor. I mean, take your pick. I mean, Christian, when you see that list, what he achieved in 2 years, the monsters there that he created, the regeneration, the cosmic hobo characterization of the Doctor, where the hell do you start and finish?
I can't, honestly, I can't really find a bad, undesirable, forgettable, dismissible story in any of these. And of course, you know that I kind of favor Patrick Troughton's era anyway. I do miss him terribly. These are wonderful, and to just observe, John, I think there might be those who would celebrate discovering the Gatwa missing episodes for a couple of reasons. There may be some who might say, this is my personal chance to burn them. Okay, I found them, now I can destroy them for all eternity. There might be another cadre of people that would look upon those episodes as, I needed those episodes desperately for my university course on how not to write a TV show. And these are my exemplars. I couldn't find them. So there might be a couple of reasons people would be very happy to uncover them.
I mean, like I said, I'll do a quick comparison to be fair. But Innes Lloyd's era, he erased the historicals. That was a decision he made. He ended the episode titles and made them more just the story.
Yeah.
He came up with regeneration. He got rid of whimsy and fantasy. He did want contemporary settings. And of course, that's where we've got ourselves into a twist nowadays. He went for near future settings. So in other words,
Under Siege.
Yeah. So we were slightly away from that nonsense to do with what's going on, today. And his focus was on thrills and horror. To me, not understanding sci-fi, he took one look at Doctor Who, shadowed it for a few weeks, and he sussed it out. Isn't that amazing?
That's remarkable. But he knew exactly what had to be done.
And he trusted the writers that he was working with, and he trusted Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis to the advice they were giving. I mean, again, we talk about how many different eras have had the Cybermen in it, and we also talk about Nuwho, about the monsters that they keep rifling back out of the library. They pull it out of the toy box, and a lot of them are from this era. There'll be more to come. That title says it all, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Innes Lloyd is very like, in a way, the comparison doesn't work perfectly, but you get my gist. Philip Hinchcliffe, because that first proper season of his, once he got over the inherited ones, it was mostly new stuff, wasn't it? And Innes Lloyd came up with the Ice Warriors, the Yeti, came up with the Cybermen with Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis under discussion, came up with regeneration. I mean, my God, that's a pension plan, surely. Rtd'S chuffed that he came up with the Absorbalov and the Ood. But honestly, and a monster that you can't see in Midnight that he tries in a sequel as well. Meanwhile, they come up with real tangible goodies, and don't get wrapped up in all this lot. They came up with their new stuff. And I think that is the issue. By the way, there's me being fair. There's two eras of Russell T Davies, as we all know. The top era's at the top. The first era's at the top, and the other era at the bottom. Now, he came up with the 45-minute episodes and the arcs. They seemed to work. They did grab me. The Time War was a good idea, I thought. He was the last of the Time Lords, apparently. Greater focus on companion families. It was fresh then. He came up with good spin-offs. Emphasis on the impact of the Doctor on ordinary humans. And then, of course, we've had what we've had now. I still think the comparison of what Innes Lloyd did in 2 years, there's no comparison.
No, I think Innes Lloyd was several steps above RTD, even when RTD was starting out in 2005. And the one thing that Innes Lloyd doesn't suffer from that RTD does is you'll notice that you have a list of 5 and 5 for Russell T Davies. I would say that the 5 of his second iteration erase the accomplishments of his first iteration. So in the end, RTD gave us naught. The legacy left by Innes Lloyd still stands.
I mean, look at that, for crying out loud, guys. I mean, that makes me want to throw up every time I see it. It's
but
just
there's a puppy.
Yeah, it's just look, when you look back at those Innes Lloyd stories, what I love, it's not just Troughton as the Doctor, but it's the companions that are with him on that journey. And I love the fact that it's right, drilling it down to its simplest form. They're travelers in time and space. They don't know where they're going to end up, but they turn up most of the time, and there's an attack, and it's a base under siege situation. It's wonderful stuff. It's science fiction. It's great. That's what it's about. I don't want to know about a Doctor who fancying the pants off of some guy as he walks around in a pair of pants in the TARDIS. That's not Doctor Who, you know. And again, we're in this warped reality now, this warped era where execs at the BBC seem to think that that's acceptable, and it's not acceptable. And I will die saying that that's not acceptable, because it's low grade nonsense, quite frankly.
Well, we've got
yeah.
Sorry, we've got Farsight. Did he come up with the Ood? He did. He designed them. That's the problem. He owns them in that respect. I know he didn't write that story, so he owns them. Because he can draw. He can draw. Or, of course, in his era is speculative fiction. The world governed in huge zones and new ice age, weather control. We did a lot of weather ones. I agree. There were a lot of weather ones. You know, T-Mat, and all the rest of it. But look at that role. I mean, look at that list. I've been very as far as I can be, you know. I mean, I'm trying to say, once he's butchered Sutek and he's butchered Omega, he did the Slovene. Now, some of these are other people's stories. I understand that. Slovene, Reapers, Empty Child, the Jagrafess, Absorbalov, Krillatine, Jadoon. I like the Jadoon. Weeping Angels, Adipose, Vashta Narada. Now, you know, a lot of them are not actually him, but it's a different type of creature. Whereas you look at this, Cybermen, Macra, Yeti, the Chameleons, and then, as you were saying, John, look at some of those companions.
Yeah.
I mean,
and again, you cared about those companions. They were three-dimensional, well-written, well-acted companions, unlike now. I mean, look at the last season of Shooties. I just wanted to slap that woman's face half the time, because she can travel in time and space. Wouldn't that excite you? You know, and she's flipping miserable every second of it. You know, that there was a wonder on these companions' faces. I mean, Jamie's reaction alone is wonderful.
Yeah. No, it that's what I mean. It's fab, and I can give everybody a taster of it. Done my version, but you know, Innes Lloyd came up with some belters.
Back, Victoria, I can't stop it! What was that?
What is this place? And what are those?
Some sort of metal. They're all gluing.
Let's get away from here, Jamie.
Oh, if we can. What is it?
Horrible thing. What was it?
I don't know. No humans as strong as that.
Behind you! That thing! Like that? True! Look! Warn the doctor!
Look, Bruno, we don't know where he is! Run!
Oh, thank you, Garbage. Good old Garbage. I'll give him a shout out. Yeah, good old Garbage. There he is. Garbage Who. Check him out, everybody. And of course, at the moment on our screens, we've got John, Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. There we go. He'll do his shout out later, but just so you know who we've got on here. Last little bit from the source, by the way. So Doctor Who has had a history of challenges like John Nathan Turner coming from production. What he did with that first season was extraordinary. Whether you like the stories or not, that season, Tom's last season, looked like nothing else. And I remember it was when it was first broadcast, my jaw dropped when I saw The Leisure Hive. I couldn't believe it. it was like a different show in terms of quality of production. It felt like hard sci-fi after those years and years of campery with Graham Williams, who, by the way, he does actually rate and he does feel sorry for and he does love, and he says that afterwards. Right, so he's not having a hit on Graham Williams. He knows the budget was tight, but I agree that season. It took me a while to warm to Christian. It did. But it's got some belters in there, and I granted they really did change the show.
Well, sometimes, again, we talked about how often you need to refresh a show, and here we're talking about very late in Tom Baker's tenure. A certain tone has been established for an extended period of time, and you've absolutely got to refresh it at that moment. The key is to remember that camp is a very dangerous line that people try and walk, because it damages the credibility of the story, the tension you're trying to create. And that's one of the problems with certainly Rtd's run, where he really leans into camp elements that undercut the gravitas of a particular story. So when J&T came in and tried to do a transformation that got us away from a lighter edge due to budgetary restrictions, he was able to successfully accomplish that act. And that's not easy to do.
Now, I've just got, I'm giving some nice little shout outs to people I see as well. Sun Raider, new name, season long stories, killed it. Trying to tie every little thread together just made it messy and convoluted. And I'll be honest, Sun Raider, look at the last series. We had Mrs. Flood, we had Poppy, we had Susan. I could go on. Mavity. Was it all joined up at the end? Nah, he dropped it like a brick. It was so messed up. So yes, I agree with you there. And yes, we've got Shamrock, who's joined us as well. Good to see new faces. Please join us again. It's lovely to see all Peter Harrington, Shamrock Particle. Tries to get to these when possible. Thank you for yeah. It's just nice to be positive. I mean, you know, we try our best. We will be doing plenty. So will John. Tom's last season and then Davison was an overcorrection in terms of humour. A judicious sprinkling of humour is a key element of Who. Don't tell RTD. Oh my God. Graham, season 18 was very different in tone, I agree. I remember watching Warriors Gate as a 10-year-old and not having a clue. I still don't have a clue. I haven't read the book. I bought the book. I haven't read it, you see, because it just... I don't know. Do you know what it was? It was the white set. In the end, it's a bit like watching Play School or Blue Peter, where it's big studios is white and have one object there. That's maybe why I don't like the Mind Robber slightly. I'm a bit of a contrary devil. You all know that. But there's something about Warriors Gate, and there's a little bit in the corner, and they're all walking along the Play School. I know they're walking along a studio.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't grab me, and yet it should.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think season 18 for me, I watch it and I enjoy it. It's not a favorite season for me, but I do always watch it. And I think, yeah, the tone and the effects, it's like night and day from the previous season and era. It's really well done. So it's good Doctor Who in my book. What we got now,
night and day, the difference between a Whittaker episode and a Gatwa episode. Darkness and darkness.
Dear. Can I just say as well, do you know what really upsets me is the fact that for years it was a tradition in my family. My parents would always get me the Doctor Who wall calendar. I don't know if any of you had it as well. It was a tradition. And then unfortunately, Jodie Whittaker got cast and that stopped because I didn't want Jodie Whittaker or Ncuti Gatwa looking back at me for a whole month on my wall.
Yeah, I know. This, you know, do you know what? I want stuff like this. Stuff like this just makes me go to a very, very different era, and I just feel good with the world.
Roll up, and see these funny little creatures in the native habitat. Jump.
Oh, stop it, Doctor. It's not funny.
Oh, I know.
Oh, just to hear that voice,
Wonderful.
to hear Carnival of Monsters, I think, is probably one of my favourite places to go to.
Our
Now,
pleasure.
we've entertained. It's nearly New Year. We'll be on again, as Boomer Doug was saying earlier. I've got a detox special. I've also got Stefan in a debate about animations, the revisionism in Doctor Who, hands off our classics. Look out for those two shows coming up in the next 3 to 4 days, everybody. Oh, yes, we're going nowhere. I might be going to the in-laws, but the channel's going nowhere. So, first of all, thank you very much, John. And John, Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, Gallifrey 11. What are you up to? What mischief are you up to?
Thanks. So, Stargate SG-1 and Supernatural TV series watch parties start back this Sunday. Looking forward to them. I've got some Stargate videos about to drop in the next sort of few days that are going to be about, top 5 episodes of each season to get new people into the show, and also just about alien races in the show. And I'm also starting the series Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, a review. So I'm going to be doing each episode of that. So I'm going to be a busy guy in 2026. So, feel free to come along for the ride if you love your sci-fi and you're not on SenseSphere,
That's it. I'm going to be busy and I won't be even in the room. I'll have, yes.
Thanks, mate.
Couple of shows coming up, and thank you for being on, John, tonight, and all last year, of course, or this year, but nearly last year. Timey-wimey. And Christian, great to get you back on again. It's hard in between your work and all the rest of it, but it's great to get you back on. People do love you being on, and he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just busy. He's talking to us every day, but he's just busy. But great to have you on, Christian.
My pleasure. Always love being here.
Yeah, these are the pals. These are going nowhere. So, thanks everybody. As I've seen, Stefan, he's been dead busy in the thread, and he's been saying we're doing the Faceless Ones missing episodes next, possibly the Celestial Toymaker after that. But please write to us, people. We will do the missing episodes focus you want. We like that. As it is, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas and have a happy New Year tomorrow. Shamrock Particle, it's good to see you here live. So I think Shamrock's going to join you because he said book could be fun, blah, 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 blah. So he might be joining
come along.
You. Yeah.
Biddy.
What's up?
I remember that.
So I think it's time for me to get in that TARDIS and to disappear. See you, everyone. Have a good New Year. Look out for the detox, probably New Year's Day. See you later,
have
everyone.
a good one all. Happy New Year all.
Bye.